Badenoch and Strathspey Area Committee on the 25th of November in Canusie. The meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. We don't have any apologies, I don't think, so any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. So I think we'll go straight into our first report, which is Scottish Fire and Rescue Service report, and I'm delighted to welcome Nick Nethercott this morning. Thank you, Nick.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Thank you for having me today. So I'm here to report the Scottish Fire Rescue report for the Badenoch and Strathspey for the period of 1st of April to the 30th of September 2024. We've all been furnished with a written report, which hopefully you've had time to look at, but the salient points are that during this period, reporting on our KPIs, that we had 4 accidental dwelling fires, of which those 2 were of low severity, but 2 unfortunately resulted in the total loss of property, but is slightly above the 3-year average for the area. Thankfully, there were no fire fatalities or casualties within these incidents or for this period. We did attend 7 deliberate fires in this time. 1 was in other classes of primary fire, and 6 were secondary fires, so mainly outdoor fires. We attended 33 unwanted fire alarm signals, so that's starting to see the reduction of over our averages, but with the new UFAS policy we've now implemented across Scotland. For the special services, we attended 18 road traffic collisions within the district. So that is actually in line with the 3-year period. We did attend, 1 which we attended had a fatality at our time of attendance, and there were 29 related injuries, of which 7 went to hospital and 1 which appeared to be of serious life-threatening injuries. On a positive note, the prevention work that we have done, we've attended 62 home fire safety visits, which is our method of trying to decrease the primary fires within the area. 36 of those properties were deemed as high risk prior to our attendance. We also undertake many other prevention activities such as road safety, and our community action team have attended both the secondary schools within the district to encourage safer driving, and we are working with other community groups as well as part of our attendance in the road safety reduction group. Of course, if you have any questions from the report, I'll be very happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Any questions, members? Councillor Coburn.
Thank you for the report. It's comprehensive. Really appreciate that. Regarding the prevention work with partner agencies, what's the frequency and the timelines for that? Because I feel that we should be promoting that. I know it's probably resource driven, but I wonder if we should be working more closely with our health and social care partners in Badenoch and Strathspey in particular. I think that's a really interesting one. And my second question was, is there capacity for checking commercial lets and landlord compliance for fire safety? Okay, so the first point, the prevention work, I take it you're talking about domestic prevention work there we do. So we do work with a number of agencies. So for example, so we have a community action team. They're based in Inverness, but we've got people that serve throughout the Highlands. Okay, so Badenoch and Strathspey does get very much supported with that. For example, out of the 62 home fire safety we've done, more often than not, that's done by a community action team as well, so they do come down and support. They do work with the partners, they work on several panels, such as the NHS panels as well. So we do have good links and communications to exchange information, so partners can raise concerns over people they are working with and refer and reflect to make sure that we're all doing what we can do as well. So there is a mechanism in place where our partners can communicate with each other. GDPR does sometimes make that a challenge, but we have taken steps to overcome that. So that I believe processes are in place with that. I could perhaps at one of the other more informal meetings, if you wished, I could get the station commander from the community action team that works on the prevention side to come and discuss with you, and he would be the subject matter expert in all the activities you do. but I'm certainly confident that we do take part in working with agencies. Obviously, I sit on the community partner group as well and attend there. It's a good way, and so we attended the Boat Garden community partnership as well for that networking as well, so we can just make sure that we're all working together for that same common goal of just keeping everyone as safe as possible within the district.
That's great, thank you.
With regards to the commercial side that you're discussing there, so again within our prevention team we do have a commercial part of that as well, where they look at that. We tend to look at sleeping risks, care homes, hospitals, hotels. That's where the priority is, because the reality is it's the sleeping risks where there's more chance of the fatality from a fire. Okay, it is a small team, and unfortunately, really, business owners are expected to be able to sort of self-audit, and if need be, they can get support themselves from a private company as well. So we just don't have the capacity to attend every commercial premises. We can signpost and we can try and support, and we always will, try and do what we can do. But in terms of us going out and doing the auditing and making sure that people are being compliant, our capacity is limited to really sleeping risks in hospitals, care homes, as I said.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Councillor Lovin.
Yeah, I guess about station establishment and availability.
Yep.
If you look at just in pure blank figures, the Grantown second appliance is almost unavailable, permanent. Is it now time for you to reconsider where that appliance is based?
So we've discussed Grantown in the last one as well, and it has been a subject of conversation for us all. If we look back to at the beginning of the year, we had 9 employees at the beginning of the year. We're at 12 now. So the efforts to get, or the recruitment process and the training process to get someone through the door, get them in and get them up to that point of being able to wear a BA set, it takes 6 months from once they're employed. So we had 2 candidates that, employees should I say, that only went through that course in the last week of August. So really, while it's saying 18%, there was actually quite a spike in the September that brought that figure up, and I'm expecting to see that increase more as we go on. I've got a qualified firefighter looking to transfer back into the station in the next few weeks, and we have got another person in the recruitment process as we speak right now. So I'm hopeful that within the next 2-3 months we can have at least 14 in that station. So that is very much getting back to good figures to support 2 appliance at the moment. So right now, relocating that appliance is possibly not something we're discussing at the moment. We're more trying to focus on getting those numbers back up. Which I think we've been very successful with it. There's good motivation, and it's a great station that's really coming together at the moment. So
that's encouraging.
Absolutely. Overall, across the district, just on that, we've had a new employee start with Qtrs because their numbers have dropped a bit as well. We've got 3 also in the process right now for Qtrs, and we've got 3 in the process of recruiting for Newtonmore as well. So we've actually had a very good spike in recruitment.
So will that bring Qtrs up to 12 then as well?
It'll be up to 11.
11.
If we can get them through.
What's the maximum for each of these stations?
So the general guide is 12 for a 1-pump station, which most of them are in the district, and 20 for a 2-pump station, which Grantown is. So that's the guide, but it does then come down to the individuals, and if their availability is sufficient to give us what we need. Right now, I'm in the process of making a case to get Avonmore up to 13, just because I feel that the people we've got isn't quite giving us the cover we need, and so we're looking to get that 13th person in to support the Avonmore district, and that actually then should release. We do within Avonmore have a daytime person that's fully employed, and if I can get good availability in Avonmore, it means that day person I can move to another station to help with the availability where we see gaps. So it's the whole short, medium, long term kind of planning that's in place, and I think it's going well at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bruce.
Thank you. A false alarm has a cost implication, doesn't it? Because the firemen get rewarded every time they're called out.
They do, yes.
Is there any? It was talked about a considerable time ago about charging people that keep setting off false alarms. Has anything happened about this?
So nobody has been charged within the district for that. I can't talk out with the Badenoch and Strathspey just because I don't have that awareness. Generally, we have one premises that's a commercial premise that we work with closely, but it's a very positive relationship that when we do have an unwanted fire alarm, then we do attend, but they work with us to try and overcome it. So, and again, that's where they're working with the prevention team, the enforcement team, who are listening well to what our recommendations are, and they are implementing it. So we feel that's part of that reduction there. And ultimately, what we don't want is people to turn off fire alarm systems to be scared of getting a bill when the system is there to alert in case they need a fire. So we have to be very careful about how we go about our business with that. So personally, I'd be in the interest of, I just want us to be able to attend if there's a chance there's a fire, and work with them to reduce these false alarms.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lovell.
Like, how does that work with the new system whereby you don't actually attend?
So with the new system, we still attend if there's a sleeping risk, a care home, a hospital. So we will always attend, and that never changed. To clarify the new system, where we get a one detector actuation of the premises, who then use a third party call handler who calls us to alert us of that. We don't attend. We ask them to send a duty holder to go and investigate first to see if there's a fire. If that same premises has a second detector actuation, so in other words, another smoke detector down the hall is now actuated, we would attend that, because that's further evidence that there is actually a fire in place, rather than perhaps smoke detector that's not been maintained correctly. So the only time we won't attend is if there's a single smoke detector actuation in a non-sleeping risk premises. We would ask the duty holder to investigate.
I don't think that's been particularly well explained. So, to the public, I think that gives a much better explanation. So thank you for that.
No, not at all.
Aren't the detectors nowadays linked together? So if one goes off, they all go off in a building.
So I'm not a fire alarm panel expert. Okay, so yes, in our domestic houses we've got them all linked, but we generally, if we attend somewhere, we'll be able to tell which one has actually caused the actuation. So when a fire alarm panel, more commercial, bigger ones, where one actuates, the fire alarm panel does know. Now they will sign throughout the building, but it's when a second one smokes a smoke, detects smoke.
That's very clear.
So,
thank you.
No, I think in Fraser's I've got better at explaining it as we've gone.
I mean, wider with the public. I don't think public actually understood that. I think that's a really good explanation. So thank you.
Thank you. Look, a question about your work with the older drivers virtual reality scheme. Could you explain that a wee bit? It's obviously quite a sensitive subject in some areas, but I was just interested when I saw it.
I'm going to be a bit honest there. I'm going to have to come back to some further information about that one. So again, that's the prevention team that are involved in that one. They would have the information about what they've done. I don't believe that has actually happened in the district, but I may be wrong unless you know otherwise. Sometimes we
no, I didn't. That's why I was interested when I saw it.
So we can get, I can get back to you on that, and I'll make sure I do get back to you on if we have done anything there, and or the community groups that we could link in to do that down here.
Don't tell my mother I asked you, will you? But don't tell my mother I asked you. I was just interested when I saw it.
Yeah, no, I think we have, so for the whole activities for the Highlands, which includes Badenoch and Strathspey, we have done partner days with UHI. So where we work with the younger people and mature students at UHI, and we've done a demonstration there for the students. We've attended all 32 Highland secondary schools to deliver new driver input to the young drivers. And as I said, we've also continued to work on the Highland Road Casualty Reduction Group, which is obviously, that's a police-led group, but we are obviously working with them to attain the objectives. We have worked across the Highland with rental companies to try and get signage about driving on the left, that kind of thing. We've done a fire skills course delivered with youth, which does have an RTC input on it, so that's almost pre-driving. We're trying to get there before they're even behind the wheel there, but they're getting a little experience about what it means to be involved in accident, because we're showing them what the firefighters have to do, and by no means is it a pleasant experience sitting in the car with firefighters working around you. And then we are working on a biker down programme, which is for motorcyclists to be invited in, and we can sort of work on them about giving them some help about what will happen at an incident and what could they do to support an incident prior to our arrival. Because quite often bikers will go in groups, so they can maybe do some immediate life-saving actions to prevent and protect their friends. And then we also did an Inverness Open Station Day, which involved, was attended by 900 people, which included an RTC demo there. So I appreciate I haven't got anything on what you've asked about, but I think it's a good demonstration that we are taking seriously the contribution we need to do to support with driving down road traffic collisions within the area, and specifically the Highlands.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Coleman.
Thanks for letting me back in, Chair. Just in your response to Councillor Loban, I think the explanation was really, really helpful. How can we help you get that in the public domain? Because I think there's a disconnect between what some of the people locally understand as to what you're responding to and what is actually on that. And my second question, it'll be my last question, was I had the privilege of attending a fire skills course, pass out parade in Inverness a few weeks ago with young people, and it was a multi-agency with Highland Council, police and all the rest of it. But to see the work that the team did with those young people was just amazing, absolutely amazing. In the future, would there be any possibility to do that with some of our young people that are not engaged in education and some of the social interactions down here? Is there capacity to offer something like that for Badenoch and Strathspey?
Absolutely. I have already been in touch with the community action team to see about trying to get one in the district, and the question is, where do we locate it? There is a high demand for these fire skills courses across the Highlands. They are becoming more popular, so that, yeah, there is a demand on it, and quite often we will use our on-call support, our on-call firefighters as well. So it's a challenge, but we're working to meet that demand, and so it's more likely I'd like to try and organise one for Badenoch Strathspey rather than one for King UC Secondary School and one for Grantown. So I think it's more realistic to try and get something where we can bring people together, and then we've got that chance of doing it. So yes, I have spoken and I've had a positive response. We just haven't got one in the diary just yet. So
that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
I've forgotten your first question. Sorry, could you?
No, it was the communication about the call-outs, and I think you really clearly explained that the sleeping accommodation, but there's a perception on the street, so to speak, that you don't go out for call-outs, and I think any help that the public can get with clarification.
So we did do a lot of publicity about it at the time, and we invited and directed business community to our websites to read on it as well. I'm more than happy I can engage with the Chamber of Commerce or business groups if there's, I'm quite happy to go along and spend time with them and explain it. Ultimately, we still want, if advice will be given at the time of a call. So if a third party call handler, so known as a commercial handler, that's what their business is, they sell that service of calling us, we would recommend they'll be given advice on what to do. So if that is ask a duty holder to go and investigate first, then that would be the advice. We don't want people to refrain from phoning 999. If they have a reason or need to suspect there is a fire, they should call us. Based on the information that the call handler, gives the call handler, we will make a decision on whether we give a response. So we don't want people to think they can't call 999. Obviously they can, and we'll direct them. It just comes down to, you have to remember that this is I cannot remember now the facts and figures as to the reduction we're looking at, but I think it was in the region of 95,000 UFAS incidents we were attending in Scotland a year. Please give it to that may be wrong, but I'm sort of relying on memory. It's over a year ago, and I can come back and clarify with you on that one. But we have seen a vast reduction in that. And within that includes saving money in terms of all the on-call firefighters that we're sending out, which is a cost there to us and limits what we can do elsewhere. Maybe we can save that money and use it for our prevention work. But so there's lots of things we can do with that money. There's the road risk. There is that road risk about sending 18-ton trucks out with blue lights through our streets and our towns, and the less we have of that the better it is. It's better for everyone. And the less disruption to our on-call firefighters who are trying to maintain their job, their lives, So overall, as long as we're getting it right, we have, and so far it's worked. The new policy, which, I have to say that we were one of the last people in Britain, last organised fire service in Britain to implement this. It's worked. We have had a massive reduction, and we haven't had an incident, as far as I'm aware, which has resulted in a fire, if you see what I'm saying. So I'm happy to work with business groups to communicate that. But ultimately, people can still call us, and we will give them that mail at the time.
That's great. Thanks very much. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I had one final question. So that there are 62 home fire safety visits. Take it that's across Badenoch, so Badenoch and Strathspey. How are these booked? I mean, I remember years ago that the local guys used to come out if they were asked to come to visit a house. Yep. But do we have capacity to do that now, or is it a different system now? I mean, if somebody was concerned about the safety in their house, could they contact? Yes,
they can. There is a phone number on our website. It's on the front of our Fire Scotland website. There is a contact and a web ask as well for people to request it. And so there's various ways. So that's the direct one, that way there, where people can request a home fire safety visit. They may be asked some questions as to why they're inquiring. Many moons ago, about over 10 years ago now, one of my roles in the fire service was I was a community fire safety officer. So I was one of us that went out and delivered from the community action team. So there was definitely a split of the worried well. That was very easy to get into the homes, and then there was the homes where it was harder to get into, but which realistically was the ones we wanted to get into. But yeah, the simple answer is people can phone and request a home fire safety visit, and we will go out and we will attend that. We will try and streamline that by asking some questions as to identify whether we would deem them as low risk, medium risk, or high risk, which would then create whether there's a sense of urgency to get out there and support. For example, do they smoke in bed while they drink alcohol? These kind of, maybe that's something we want to give a quicker response to. Do they have working smoke detectors in the property? So we've got some key indicators as to which would highlight the need for an urgent response or not to do that. Like I said, so within that's where we get the information. So I said 36 of those visits we deemed as high risk prior to us attending. Obviously, we want to then try and get them that education, get some things in place, and then we can bring down that risk within the home. We also then attend following a fire that we will always go back, but we will always do the neighbours as well. So, and to be fair, that's not even just being in a fire in someone's property. If we attend a domestic property for anything, we will deliver a home fire safety visit while we were there. We'll take the opportunity to give people advice. And then, because people start looking out the windows and see fire engines there, wonder what's going on, we will then try and engage with those people at the time of the incident and just take the opportunity while it's on the forefront of people's minds. So for example, a good example would be also Grantown View, where we had unfortunately a house that was hit by lightning in the summer. So we did a lot of work in that street within the next 48 hours and did several home fire safety visits. So that's a good example of the work I did.
That's great.
That's great, thank you. Any more questions, members?
It goes back quite a long way. There was talk of the fire service helping in houses where someone had fallen, because they said, the firemen are probably stronger than some of the paramedics, and the conversation started, but I don't know if it ever finished.
So, yeah, slip strips of falls doesn't formally lie with the fire service in terms of a response, and that's not been fully finished yet. But speaking from experience, if we become aware of someone that is in the property in the need of help, right, and we are aware that it's going to be a delayed response for the ambulance, I'm not aware of a case where we've refused to go along and help. So while it's not part of our formal responses, we do tend to help.
That's excellent. Good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Thank you again for coming today. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you next time.
So I will speak to the station commander of the community action team and see if he'd be interested in coming to meet in one of your meetings in between, and we can discuss the activity that's going on in here. Would that be?
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for the offer, and I'll be in contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.
Bye bye.
Is Is Lee about? We're going to move on to.
He's on the, he should be on the call, Chair.
Oh, there he is. No. Okay, so we're going to move item 4 to the end of the meeting, the minutes, and go straight on to item 5, which is the housing performance report, introduced by Lee Marcy. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. Today I present the latest housing performance report for Q2. Members will notice this report differs from the previous performance reports, as it is now more focused on housing management data from rent arrears to homelessness and goes into more detail within those key figures. It was agreed for the reports to be presented in Q2 and 4, whereas the building maintenance team will report to you separately in Q1 and 3. I'll go straight into section 6.2, table 1, showing the current rent arrears figures. You will note that rent arrears have increased across Badenoch and Strathspey in Q1 and 2 of this year. Whilst we continue to analyse this trend, we remain focused on early intervention measures and working closely with our tenants to reduce their arrears, signposting them to the likes of Citizens Advice Bureau and our welfare support team in a bid to maximise their income and provide support where applicable. We are noticing a delay in the universal credit migration from legacy benefits, so that's having a bit of an impact on our overall rent arrears collections too. Going on to table 2 in section 6.5 shows gross rent arrears as a percentage of annual rent due. This includes current, former and written off arrears, which is including any sequestrations, etc. You will note the Q2 percentage for Badenoch and Strathspey is 3.41%, which is incredibly low compared to other areas with similar stock levels, but also the benchmark figure from the Scottish Housing Network, which is 6.86%. And the overall Highland percentage of 7.43. Table 3 breaks down the rent arrears into bands, so it gives a bit more information in relation to the rent arrears, and members will note that the number of cases under £500. Whilst we continue to monitor all cases, we will be undertaking more focused work in the lower balances over the coming quarters, because there's quite a high number of cases there. Table 4 shows the rent actions and the number of notice of proceedings, which is our first step in taking court action. The local team hold regular review meetings on the high rent arrears cases. During these meetings, actions are agreed and progressed. We take a firm but fair approach to arrears management and are keen to support and advise tenants. Where a tenant is not engaging with the support offered, then we continue through our arrears escalation path, and unfortunately cases can progress to the court system. This figure remains low as the officers work closely with the tenants in a bid for it not to reach that stage. Going on to table 4, that shows antisocial behaviour figures. Tackling antisocial behaviour is a key priority for the local housing team. The management of cases is often complex, involving other services and agencies. Consequently, cases can take some considerable time to resolve. Cases that remain open continue to be actively managed by the team. One of the reasons for the low numbers in some cases can be dealt with at an early stage where we're satisfied it does not need require to be logged. Performance information, that now takes me on to performance information on homelessness. It's not collected as part of the Scottish Social Housing Charter return. However, a number of indicators have been agreed for reporting at local committees. Moving to table 6, which shows our homeless presentations. There were 12 presentations in Badenoch and Strathspey in Q2. You will see a positive trend here, which highlights the hard work of officers aiming to prevent homelessness where possible. Table 7 below shows the number of households currently in temporary accommodation and the average time spent in temporary accommodation. Across Highland, we are seeing increasing pressure on availability of accommodation across all tenures, with many households struggling to find housing options that are both accessible and affordable. This can result in an increase in the number of homeless presentations. Table 8 shows the total number of homeless applications currently open with the Badenoch and Strathspey housing teams and the size of property required by these homeless households. And then table 8 there, table 8, I'll just go to table 8. think it's important to note. Apologies there, I've just kind of lost my section. Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulty there, but the table 8 shows the total number of homeless applications currently open with the Badenoch and Strathspey housing teams. Table 9 shows the number of allocations completed, which is broken down into transfer applicants, non-homeless housing list applicants and homeless applicants. The team are focused on achieving outcomes for homeless households, and at the end of quarter 2, 72% of all lets were to homeless households. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you for the presentation. We've got the questions from members, and first of all, Councillor Lobban.
Lee, in table 6.2, it shows the state of the rent arrears effectively. And whilst I appreciate that it is very low, effectively in a 12-month period, we've seen an increase of just slightly over 30% in rent arrears. So it really is something that we need to keep our eye on the ball here, because if it keeps increasing at this rate, then it will become quite unmanageable.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lobban. Just to note on that is that we've actually, we're really going to be focusing on the low level side as well, because obviously it's key early intervention. So we'll be keeping our eye on that and working closely with our tenants. It's also worth noting I've kind of put Badenoch and Strathspey into 2 patches for the rent as well, just so there's a more focused approach. But we've obviously got a small team, we're continually monitoring it, but yes, agreed that we need to continue to work and ensure that early intervention and reduction in arrears.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Thank you, Councillor Lobban. Okay, so Coburn.
Thank you for the report, Lee, and the way it's laid out. It's really clear. A couple of things that I'm keen to find out. Are we monitoring repair costs that could be attributed to people not putting their heating on because of the cost of energy at the minute? For example, are we having an increased number of frozen pipes? I'm led to believe there's a real increase in condensation in some of our properties as well, and obviously that's got knock-on effects. Do we look at that, or do we have capacity to look at that?
I mean, it's certainly something that I'd recommend bringing up with the building maintenance colleagues. But in terms of the housing management side, we do work closely with the repairs team on that, because if we're identifying properties that are maybe not being heated the way that we would expect, and also there's affordability to take into consideration, then we need to work closely with that tenant. There is it's Ally Energy. We kind of provide referrals to them, and they work closely with the tenants in terms of ensuring that they're maybe on the right tariff. They're maybe entitled to certain grants or benefits that can help them in terms of energy and heating their properties accordingly. So yeah, I think it's a good point, and it's certainly something that we do work closely with repairs. But repairs could probably give you a bit more information in relation to like the amount of pipes freezing and etc.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Bruce, do you have any questions?
No, I haven't had anything.
Okay, thank you. Lee, just on the homelessness part of the report, just say I've been aware of 2 or 3 cases locally, and well done to your team for for rehousing them. Obviously, it's a pretty traumatic time for people when they become homeless and they go into emergency accommodation, and then they've gone. I've been aware of 2 or 3 different families and couples that have gone through that recently and have now been rehoused, and well done to your team for that. As you highlighted, there seems to be almost a downward trend in that over the last few years. Has that been because there are more houses becoming available, more suitable houses becoming available at the moment, or why do you think that is?
I think there's a number of factors there. There's obviously prevention. We're trying to work closely in terms of housing options. with our homeless applicants, or prior to them becoming homeless. We try to go down that route. If we've got plenty of notice and that, we kind of work with them closely, because there could be other opportunities. We know the private rental sector is obviously challenging and limited in terms of that, but sometimes there's the Highland Housing Alliance properties that come up. So we're signposting them and trying to provide options and advice in relation to that, which can reduce obviously the homeless demand, but also development opportunities. We've had quite good development opportunities locally within Badenoch and Strathspey. Creates more properties, which allows us to then house accordingly as well. And working, you'll see we were sitting at 72% of allocations. We can go to the transfer list as well, which can maybe get somebody from a bigger property into a smaller property. We free up the bigger property to then resolve a case as well. So yeah, a number of factors there, and thank you for the positive feedback.
No, thank you. As you say, obviously the private rented sector is becoming more challenging, and some people who have been long-term private renters have become homeless through no fault of their own, because the owners of their house have decided to sell it. And sometimes it's been an ex-council property. Do we ever look at the possibilities of buying those properties? You know, and then obviously we wouldn't be having people homeless and then looking to rehouse them.
So we do. There was a time where we were probably looking at that more than lately. There was a bit of a hold, and I think it obviously comes down to budgets. And I believe that we were not so much in locally, but in other areas, that there was properties being purchased, but to the point that required significant kind of works on top of that, and it just wasn't affordable with the budgets that constraints that we had. So it's certainly always an option. It's certainly always an option, and I think if there is properties that come up, it's certainly worth discussion on that. Because especially if it's ex-council, it's and it's maybe part of a block, for example, or it's the end one, an end terrace that kind of makes up. Yeah, if we was to purchase it, it would be all kind of council stock. Yeah, it's certainly open to discussion on that, but I do know it was limited due to the budget constraints previously.
Okay, thank you, Lee. A further question, Councillor Lovan.
It's on the same sort of subject, Lee. You know, when you look at the number of housing allocations completed, there's a big difference between the ones that are basically coming off the housing list and those to homeless people. And to me, that just accentuates the fact that we've got a housing crisis and we're not building enough houses. You know, we definitely need to house our homeless applicants, but we've also got a huge number of people on the housing list. So, just like to make that point.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coburn.
Thanks, Lee. Just a couple of questions. In relation to what Councillor Loban was saying there, is there close collaboration and working with our housing associations regarding, you know, where they are in supporting tenants? That's one question. And the other one was, I think a lot of, I think we need to commend the front-facing service of our housing officers and our housing teams have, because it's not an easy situation. It's very emotional. How are the team, are they getting access to the trauma-informed practice that has been made available by Highland Council? And is there anything we can do to support that training and support for them?
So thank you, Councillor Coburn. In terms of collaboration with housing associations, I think the local team's got a good dialogue and connection with the other housing associations. It's pretty important that we do have that positive working relationship, because we can do, there's measures such as Section 5 opportunities, which is where we can nominate homeless applicants to the housing associations, which then helps us from our own stock. So we are constantly working close with them and where opportunities present, it's important that we seek that opportunities out. In relation to staff and working with our tenants and applicants, etc., and the trauma-informed approach, I welcome the trauma-informed approach. There's more and more individuals out there that would benefit from that approach. And in terms of that, there's some training that is provided to our staff in relation to that. So yeah, no, I welcome if there's any obviously opportunities that arise from that as well. But yeah, so we're taking a trauma-informed approach where practical to do so, because obviously that can be resource heavy as well. However, it's worth even just to be aware of that in the first instance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Any other questions, members? Are we happy to note the report?
Agreed.
Okay, Lee, thank you very much.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you next time, Lee. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Moving on to item 6 on the agenda, which is the Cairngorms National Park Authority CEO report and convener update to board from the 22nd of November 2024. I think I might say there's nobody to present this morning, unfortunately, but there's an attached report, Lewis.
That's correct, Chair. I was discussing the next update to committee from the National Park, and unfortunately nobody was able to attend today from the Park Senior Management Team, but they were still keen to provide this update, and they asked that it be added to the agenda for you to scrutinise and note its content. Members, whilst I can't present or take questions on the content of the report that's provided, I'm very happy to take an action with any particular points of interest or questions that you'd like me to raise with them and report back. The Park Senior Management Team also made a commitment to come to the next committee meeting with a paper, and there will be in person to present and take questions on future reports. But yeah, on this occasion, we can't make it, unfortunately, but I am happy to take questions back to them on your behalf.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm as my colleague Councillor Lobban, we're both members of Cairngorm National Park.
I think it'd be appropriate to make a transparency statement, not a declaration. A transparency statement, it's recorded.
So we're both members of the board. So, Councillor Coburn, Councillor Bruce, did you have anything to?
No.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing National Park officers the next time they can attend. Then.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Lewis. Moving on to item 7, is Debbie available? Debbie Sutton. Morning, Debbie.
Morning, members. Hi.
So item 7 on the agenda is the Scottish Government Play Park funding, and Debbie Sutton's going to present this to us. Morning, Debbie.
Morning. Thank you very much. Yes, this paper identifies the funds we have available from the Scottish Government Play Park funding, and members are asked to agree the funding for Ward 20, which is 108,768 to be allocated to the agreed projects as outlined at 6.4. I have previously discussed this with members at your area service business meeting to look at the various sites that we have within the ward and where we can support projects for play area refurbishments. You can see that we have a number of sites that we've looked to invest in, and the budget remaining for your ward in total for the next for this year and for the remaining year, which is next financial year, is 109,219. So we've been looking at proposals to invest at Campbell Crescent and Ardvony, as well as the existing works which have been carried out at Burnside and Clune Terrace. So I would be happy to take any questions if there are any, and hope that members would support these recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you for the recommendations. Just like to move an amendment, if it was possible, please. The allocation of 19 and 19 to the 2 play parks in Canusie like to move an amendment that's 38,000 to Canusi play parts for members to allocate as required. If they have a second.
I'll second that.
Great.
Agreed.
Yeah. And has anyone got anything else to say on the recommendations?
No, sorry. Sorry, I do apologise, Chair. Thank you for the report, Debbie, and the clarity of it, and it's really helpful to see that the Scottish Government funding is being put to good use.
Councillor Lovin.
I only got one point. It's really not for Debbie. It was very disappointing to see that the Burnside play area was vandalised almost the day it opened.
Yeah.
It is beyond me. I just cannot fathom it. It's not toilets, it's the play parks, and
Sad.
just ridiculous.
No, I think we'd all agree with that, Councillor Lovin. But yeah, just to echo what Councillor Coburn said, Debbie, thank you very much for the report, and I think it is, it is great to see the money going to play parks in Aviemore, Newtonmore, Canusi, etc. So that's very encouraging. So thank you very much. So we're all happy to agree the recommendations, with including the amendment.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
No, sorry.
So moving on to item 8 and Grantown public conveniences, and there's a report that's going to be spoken to by Debbie again. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Yes, this report talks about the Grantown public conveniences, and back in 2018, it was agreed that one of the two public conveniences that the council were operating at that time would remain open and operated by the council, and that was the High Street facility. And at that time, the Burnfield site was closed. And then we had a successful community asset transfer of the Burnfield PC, and the grant initiative have been running that since 2023. We have been monitoring the usage of our High Street site on the basis that there's now two facilities operating within Grantown, and we have seen that there have been reduced footfall and reduced income for us at the Grantown High Street site. And because of that, we would be looking to, in discussion with the Grantown initiative, we have discussed with them the possibility of them taking on a comfort scheme at their site at Burnfield, and that could run from the 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2026, which will bring it in line with our other current comfort schemes that we have running, and that we would close the Grantown High Street facility in order to offer the comfort scheme. And would also like to ask that members agree that once we have closed the High Street site, we could look at formal disposal of the asset and possibly marketing the property for sale. We have done an impact assessment, and there is some negative impact, but that would be mitigated by the fact that the Burnfield public conveniences is only about 500 metres away from the existing council site. So we would hope that any folk who had attended to use the High Street facility could move on and go up the street and use the Burnfield site. So hopefully wouldn't cause too much issue. If members are happy to agree that would be great. I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Do we have any questions, members? Councillor Lovin.
It's not a question. I think what this does is it supports the community enterprise. A huge amount of money was spent in refurbishing the Burnfield toilets, and by doing this we can support them even further. What I hate to see is that the Burnfield toilets effectively are not a success because you're splitting between two sites. So I think it's a good idea, and best of luck to the Burnfield people.
Yeah. Councillor Coburn.
I'd like to follow on with that, Debbie, that the impact assessment makes it quite clear, and it's good to be seen to be supportive of the Burnfield, that you and your team have been from the initial concept stage to do that. And I also think it's a very good proactive way of the comfort scheme being extended to them as well. So thank you for that. The closing of the site, is there any equipment in that site that could be repurposed for any of our other sites across the valley?
Thanks, yes, Councillor Coburn. We will look at that because we have discussed that previously, and we will certainly look to see if there's anything that can be repurposed, or we can use any of the materials or anything from inside that site for spares or for replacements at other areas. So we'll certainly look into that with our colleagues in building maintenance.
Thank you.
Councillor Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. There's an awful lot of damage being done in these places, whether it's Kingussie or Grantown. What about security? Are you able to step up security or encourage Burnfield to step up security? So I'm very concerned that, you know, if anything happens now that there's only the possibility of one in Grantown, and if that gets damaged, then there's none. Would this be something you'd have to encourage the Burnfield people to put in?
Thanks. Yes, we could certainly discuss with them. They do have opening and closing procedures, so they're locking their facility in the evening, which hopefully will see reduced levels of vandalism. But we can certainly help them and support them if there's anything additional they feel they need to do for security.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, members. Are we happy to agree the recommendations?
Agreed.
Debbie, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for all your work on both of these. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks now. Bye.
Bye.
Moving on to item 9, which is ward discretionary budget. Lewis, I'll pass over to you to just nip through these
Yes, thank you, Chair.
allocations. Thank you.
So this is an item for scrutiny and noting, and item 9 basically sets out the ward discretionary fund applications that have been approved since your last committee meeting. There were 3 payments made to our Highland Council Amenities team for improvements at Elland Road. It was £500 used there for spinner board replacement. Mossy Road, the plate area, we replaced some timber boards in the climbing unit. That was £300 contribution, and there was a £1,200 contribution paid to the Dula plate area for a replacement slide. There's also been a ward discretionary fund application approved and paid out in terms of grass cutting equipment for Necky Bridge. So £2,000 paid out in respect of that. And the last one for we'll take share is Eugene Ward Association's leaflet reprint. We were provided with £820 of support from the ward discretionary fund. And we've got our remaining balance, members, for noting just over £9,000. So any community groups that you're aware of that would taste the benefit from a ward discretionary funds award, then please direct to me, and we have guided through the process. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. Members, any comments on the ward discretionary? No. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Funds.
Yeah. We'll go back to item 4, the minutes of the previous meeting on 26th of August. Are we happy to note the minutes, members?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. So I think that brings us to the end of today's agenda. Just like to thank members for attendance. Thank you, Lewis, and thank you, Fiona. And bring the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.